guys, Marsegan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so Dokkan has had a reputation for quite some time now. I wouldn't say I was like as early as categories were released, right? Because you know there weren't that many at the start, and slowly but surely more came out with each like Dokkan Festival release. But as we started to get more categories and they started to be more loosely defined, you know, like the wiki gives a description of what the category should be, but that's not official from the game, and even the description they give on there sometimes makes you wonder why some units don't make it onto certain categories and why some units do in some cases. And then of course, not just with categories, there is also the issue of characters missing links that it would make perfect sense for them to have. Dokkan can be very weird sometimes with the decisions that they make. So I decided to make a post here to get a bit of community feedback. This was after a brief discussion about Broly. So I asked you guys the question, what is the biggest crime when it comes to missing links and categories? For me, it will always be Broly not having big bad bosses, manhandled all the Z fighters at once in the first movie, and it's not big and bad enough. Because, I mean, yeah, this guy, like, all things aside, you know, there's the meme about how Broly units are never like crazy tanks, even though that's what he was like in the movie. But it's just weird because I'm trying to think off the top of my head, is there other character from like the original Z movies? If you think about all the movies up until Fusion Reborn, you've got like Turles, Android 13, Janemba, Lord Slug. Like, do any of these other characters not have big bad bosses? I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know we just got the Dr. Wheelo card on JP. I actually can't remember whether he has it or not. But yeah, like, why does Broly not have it? He's like, I feel like he definitely fits the category for being a big bad boss, but he doesn't have it. And unfortunately, it means that anytime a new Broly comes out, whilst the units are often good, and have, you know, he's a Saiyan, they have Saiyan links, it means not super good running on villain teams. And then even when you have like the villain Saiyan units like Turles, that's a link that they could be sharing that gives a ton of extra stats. So anyway, I asked you guys to give me some examples. I know there's plenty out there. We're just going to go through some of them here. Obviously, let me know down below in the comment section which one stands out the most to you. Do go ahead and hit that like button on the video and let us jump straight in. So there's a few quotes, so I'm going to look at them first. Shout out to Demon King Kaiser. Space traveling warriors missing Golden Frieza, Metal Cooler and Broly makes absolutely no sense. There's probably more missing from that category. Yeah, space traveling warriors is a super weird one because it's, how do they define like how much traveling in space you have to do to be on Space Traveling Warriors? Because like Golden Frieza is a perfect example. Frieza was revived on Earth with the Dragon Balls into, you know, a bucket full of pieces essentially, and then taken into space, flown around on a spaceship while regenerating in a regeneration pod, then, you know, fully revived, trained to achieve a new form, all the while whilst on the spaceship, we assume, then flew back to Earth in the spaceship to fight Goku. And apparently he's not a space traveling warrior. And of course, got Metal Cooler. I mean, Cooler's, you know, Kamehameha into space, like body, floated around through space, encountered the Big Yeti star, you know, stars are in space, and it turned him into Metal Cooler, and then travelled to a different planet. So, quite a bit of travelling through space. And then, yeah, even Broly, they were talking about him destroying, like, quadrants of the galaxy and stuff like that. So, very, very weird. Yeah, the next one is these two not on Space Traveling Warriors. It just doesn't really make sense. Like, they do so much traveling in space. Videl not being on Gifted Warriors. So this is an interesting one. I did have a bit of back and forth with this person about it. It was a pretty interesting discussion. Gifted Warriors is a super weird category because how do they define like who is a gifted warrior? Because the category is mostly like Piccolo, Vegeta, Goten and Trunks are on there. Then you've got, for the extreme side, there's like Frieza. These are characters who, what? Are they just especially gifted for their particular like race, because we know Frieza never had to train apparently and was as powerful as he was at the start of Dragon Ball Z. Goten and Trunks obviously became Super Saiyans as kids. You know, if you put them next to like Goku and Vegeta at the same age, they're obviously more powerful. It's kind of like, I guess, you know, like how power creep works in the game, I guess, right? Like they're probably the most powerful Saiyans at that age. But then, like, think about characters like Master Roshi, who, you know, one of the strongest martial artists in the world in original Dragon Ball, but he's not on Gifted Warriors. And Videl, like, for a normal human, she is obviously incredibly gifted. But then when you compare her to, like, every other character from, like, the main cast, whether it be, like, Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, like, any of these other people, she's obviously, like, you know, tiers below them. The first time she has to fight a person who is not just a normal human, which is obviously Spopovich, she loses, and, you know, any of those other characters would have probably beaten him. So she is gifted, by definition, for a normal human, but she's not on Gifted Warriors, and she would be the weakest character on the category. But, like, how are they defining who is a Gifted Warrior? Because if she's on there, and she's gifted for a human, shouldn't, like, Krillin be on there? And Yamcha? Even though, you know, Yamcha wasn't the greatest warrior at the start, but after being trained by Roshi, like, I guess maybe that's why, like, didn't need a lot of training to be good. But then Videl does train. So, yeah, I really don't understand. Gifted Warriors is a very strange category. Like, surely Goku should be on it as well. But, yeah, I don't know. Gifted Warriors, very strange one. So, Future Trunks not being on Bond of Parent and Child. Yeah, the idea that his, you know, did he not have a bond with Future Bulma? Now, the only excuse I've seen given for this, or like explanation, is that Dokkan doesn't count characters who don't have cards in the game. So because there is no Future Bulma card, therefore, like, it doesn't count, right? And you could probably argue that makes some sense, because, like, there's no... I'm trying to remember what his name is. Do we ever find out his real name, or is it just Dr. Briefs? Like, there's no card for Bulma's dad, because otherwise wouldn't every Bulma be on Bond of Parent and Child as well? So it's still very weird, though, because obviously, you know, the Future Trunks one stands out, because Future Bulma, it's like the only person he has left, makes the time machine. Like, you would think so, but... Golden Frieza not having big bad bosses. Yeah, that is another one, right? Not just the Space Traveling Warriors thing, but just like Broly. Like Frieza, there are other Friezas that have it. And Golden Frieza is the boss of the movie Resurrection of F. And he doesn't have big bad bosses. So, very strange. LR Tech Super Saiyan 2 Gohan not being on Kamehameha. Yeah, this is one that comes up a few times, I think. Dokkan is very weird sometimes about units that get to be on the Kamehameha category. Even if they do a Kamehameha in one of their super attack animations, if they don't have either the link or the super attack isn't called the Kamehameha, then they don't end up on the category for some reason. And obviously Gohan does a Kamehameha and then it transitions into like the diving like punch attack. But he's still doing a Kamehameha, but he's not on the category. Very strange. Hybrid Saiyan fusions being on hybrids, but Vegeta and Gogeta not being on pure Saiyans. This has been one for years, ever since the inclusion of pure and hybrid Saiyans as categories, I guess. Unpopular take, because I know people want them to be on that category, but I personally agree that the fusions shouldn't be on pure Saiyans. There's one of the other replies I know that goes into more detail. But like hybrid, pretty much by the definition of the word, means like a mixture of things, whereas pure is supposed to mean like unmixed. So yeah, I feel like fusions shouldn't be on pure Saiyans. If anything, you could make the argument that Vegeta and Gogeta should be on hybrid Saiyans, but that's a whole other topic. And then yeah, the rapid growth category, very, very weird, some of the units that are on there. Like, again, you could go back through various parts of the story, and you could probably make arguments for almost every single character in the show being on rapid growth at certain points. So definitely a very weird one. Yeah, this was because we were talking about this Broly, right? For me, it's between LR, Physical Ulma Gohan not having Saiyan lineage, every 18 having the Innocence. She should have read something like Cold Judgment. I mean, I guess the reason why she has it is because they started off as like normal humans and then were turned into androids, and by virtue of becoming good and like a member of the main cast, it kind of shows that they were like innocent. But it is, I guess, a weird link to have, considering she's on teams with other androids and very often like extreme units. So I guess it is a weird choice. And yeah, Saiyan lineage would have been good for Gohan, because obviously at max links it gives extra ki, so that would have actually been very helpful for him. Oh yeah, this is one of my shout out to my friend Jake. This is one of his favourite ones actually on this topic. The Mecha Frieza and King Cold not being on Space Traveling Warriors. The spaceship is literally in their card art. And as this guy says, it's their whole job, yeah, traveling through space, like commanding an army, buying and selling planets, all this kind of great, well, more like selling, right, conquering and selling. Yeah, how are these guys, like, the whole point of this card, and the whole point of, like, the appearance of Mecha Frieza and King Cold is that they travelled through space to come to Earth to get revenge. But they're not on Space Traveling Warriors. Yeah. How? Make it make sense, Dokkan. Why? Yeah, just talk about Big Bad Bosses. I mean, you can replace Berserker with Big Bad Bosses. That's a terrible link. Fusions not being on Pure Saiyans. Yeah, we talked about that already. Inconsistencies with free-to-play units and Big Bad Bosses link. Some have it and some don't, even though their Dokkan Fest counterparts do. The weirdest one is the SR 18s that awaken into like Super 17s. There's a physical one and a tech one. They're not free to play, right, because they awaken from summonable SRs, but they awaken into Super 17s and have Big Bad Bosses, but the actual full-on like Dokkan Fest and LR Super 17s don't have Big Bad Bosses, which would make him like exceedingly better. Like, I don't understand, why do those ones have it and not the main one? And they came out at the same time. Those like SR ones that awaken came out when the original AGL Super 17 came out. So why doesn't he have Big Bad Bosses? Very strange. So we got Tech Sin, Janemba, Physical Sin. They're really good villain links, but they get shafted with the lack of categories. Yeah, Sin especially. Like you can see here, he's on GT Bosses, Shadow Dragon Saga. Actually, this isn't even in English, so I don't know what the other one is. But yeah, barely any categories, which is disappointing. There's probably arguments you could be made, like, again, when we're talking about how do certain categories make sense, like, accelerated battle is another one, right? Like, I think the Gammas are both on there, so in theory, if you talk about, like, scaling, every character who is as fast or faster than the Gammas should be on accelerated battle. And you can take that back even further, like, Janemba has accelerated battle, so in theory, every character from Dragon Ball Super should be on accelerated battle, because they're all at that point past the level of like speed that is being shown. I mean, I guess the movies do have their own weird scaling, but yeah, very strange. Yeah, Broly, Demon King Piccolo doesn't have Big Bad Bosses either. Yeah, that's very strange. And then yeah, the Freezers and Cooler not being on Space Traveling Warriors, too many to count. True. Alright, so we'll go through some of the replies as well. So Goresh Cell. Yeah, this is the thing, right? Mega inconsistent across all his forms, so the first form doesn't link well with the perfect Cell, for example. So yeah, like Cell in his different forms, like it makes sense maybe to have one or two links that are different, but why are they so different? Like, you would think every Cell should be like a 6 or 7 link partner with each other, realistically, but they're not, right? In fact, I like this idea. Ultimate life form should be renamed Path to Perfection or something and give it to all cells. I think that's a very good idea. Yeah, that is cooking. I think that's a really good idea. But one thing I will support to this day, not being in category. Yeah, here we go. So fusions, Gogeta and Vegeta not being in Pure Saiyans. Yeah, as I say, I agree with this. It's like if you mix two pure things together, the thing you get at the end is not a pure thing in terms of like, you know, it's very like that could be a whole like video argument discussion in and of itself. I know some people don't like it because they want those units to be on that team, but I think back when it first came out, the general consensus of the community was the reason they didn't put them on the category was because then Pure Saiyans would just hands down be the best team in the game and you'd never run anything else. But obviously now, with the diversity that we do have for teams and stuff in the game, I feel like it wouldn't make that much difference, but they're obviously not going to change it. So yeah, again, this is the whole like Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans thing. Yeah, this comes up a couple of times. This is what I'm saying. People don't like that. So if LR, Broly, Cheelai, and Lemo can get big bad bosses, then Z, Broly, Dr. Wheelo, and Super 17 can get it too. I'm assuming that means Wheelo doesn't actually have it then. But yeah, this card having big bad bosses is actually hilarious because none of the Brolys in the game have big bad bosses. Now, obviously, this card is the Dragon Ball Super Broly, so it's Broly, Cheelai, and Lemo. Cheelai has her own card, doesn't have big bad bosses. Broly from Dragon Ball Super has a couple of cards, doesn't have big bad bosses. So the joke, of course, in the community is that means that Lemo is secretly the big bad boss. Because why else does this card have a link that none of the other characters that are part of the card have? Like, it's so weird that this card has it, especially when you consider that, like, you can get away with calling Broly a big bad boss, even though in, like, the Super version, he's not really a bad guy, but he's the boss of the movie, at least, right? But, like, why would Cheelai or Lemo have big bad bosses? So that card being the only, like, Broly-related card that has big bad bosses is very, very weird. And yeah, big bad bosses is just missing for, like, a couple of units. Yep, Golden Frieza not on Space Traveling Warriors. Yeah, this comes up a lot. This is a big one. It just makes no sense. Now, this is a very good point, and this is something that would be awesome if we could see change in the future. Not having categories work like Legends. I don't care if it's a different game. I want my Broly, Cheelai, and Lemo to have more categories. So, if you're unaware of the way Legends does categories, it's the opposite to the way Dokkan does categories when it comes to, like, joined forces. So, for the perfect example is, like, Vegeta and Trunks, right? Vegeta and Trunks are not on Hybrid Saiyans or Pure Saiyans because it's Vegeta and Trunks. And Vegeta is a Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan Blue, and Trunks is just a normal Super Saiyan, because for some reason they don't give Trunks, like, Future Trunks Super Saiyan 2 or Rage and call it, like, you know, Beyond Power Beyond Super Saiyan or whatever. So that means the card isn't on Power Beyond Super Saiyan, Super Saiyans, or Realm of Gods. Now, in Legends, they just have all of those, right? So Vegeta and Trunks would be on Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans, Realm of Gods, Super Saiyans, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, like, and that would make some of these joined forces units so much better, because sometimes, like, you think of, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had a card that was, like, these two characters together, but then it's like, oh, but wait, then they would be on, like, two categories. So I do really wish that we could see that in an update. I think that would be very cool, but I don't imagine it's going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's another big one as well. Yeah, like Trunks and Goten and all the Goku and Vegetas. That means they'd be on Goku Family and Vegeta Family, which would be very good. This character, the card is called Exploding Rage, and he's not on Exploding Rage. Funnily enough, there are some other examples of that. I think the big one is it LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku? It's called Miraculous Awakening Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and he's not on the Miraculous Awakening category. There's a couple of those, I think. Saiyan Saga Goku not being on Resurrected Warriors. Yeah, like, what? He literally gets revived by the Dragon Balls to come back and fight the Saiyans, but he's not on Resurrected Warriors. That's another weird one. All of the Shadow Dragons should have been on Power of Wishes. That is actually very true. Part 2 should have been Omega Shenron with a 200% leader skill for Power of Wishes. I'm assuming he's talking about the anniversary, but Golden Frieza, yeah. Nobody cares about these guys. I mean, these guys were actually quite decent when they came out. I feel like they did get overlooked quite a bit. Maybe because they were never, like, too crazy. It's worth pointing out they aren't on full power, even though their card active skill is literally them charging up to full power. Yeah, there you go. That's another weird one. Kamehameha, we did already talk about that. Broly, yeah. LR Broly Trio does have... what? Oh, yeah, it does have big bad bosses. Yeah, yeah. Literally the definition of big and bad. Yeah, Broly definitely is. The way they handle extreme units, also divided with their own links and categories. Yeah, very true. Oh yeah, this random, like, physical SR Vegeta from Resurrection of F has big bad bosses. It's like, what? I don't think it is. I think he is an extreme unit as well, but just like, what? Why? Oh yeah, these guys, they're Super 17's banner unit. They're not an android because Dr. Mew isn't an android, which means they're not on Super 17's 200% leader skill. Very weird considering they're his side banner unit. This is a big one I've talked about in the past. The fact that they made GT and movie the category bosses and not villains. Because remember, GT is GT heroes, so all of the good guys from GT are on there. Whereas movie bosses, it's only the big, like, main bosses. Whereas if it was called GT villains, and you could have, like, the Trenchcoat 17 and Hellfire 17, like all of just the normal bad guys who aren't just the main boss, and same with the movies as well, right? Like, I think that would be way, way better. Oh yeah, so Gohan in the Supreme Kai, like, clothes isn't on Potara. It doesn't state they have to be fused just wearing them. Yeah, because characters like Zamasu pre-fusion, Supreme Kai of Time, they're all on Potara because they are wearing the Potara earrings. They're not fusions. So you could make an argument that Gohan should be on there. Berserker shouldn't even exist at this point, true. Units like LR Cell, Tech Gohan being left off Kamehameha, yeah, exactly. So, as you can see, there's quite a few weird ones out there. We saw quite a few of the same ones. Like, some of the ones that we saw repeated, like, really are just weird and don't make a lot of sense. So let me know what you guys think. If there's one that you didn't see on the list, let me know. Even if it was one you did see, what one do you think is the worst offender of this bizarre phenomenon with Dokkan and their strange treatment of links and categories? So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.